So far in this series, we have tested out Linux, installed it on our machine, and done some basic configuration. Before we continue, I want to install my preferred browser. This is an optional step, which is why this is a side quest video. But even if you don't want to use Edge, you'll be exposed to how to install a new browser on Mint. This video is part of a series dedicated to developing C# applications on Linux. Along the way, we'll gain a better knowledge of how Linux works and how to make our apps truly cross-platform. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel to stay informed of new episodes as they come out. And if you're looking for even more .NET, SQL, or even AI training, go to iamtimcorey.com. So here I have my installation of Mint, and in the browser I pulled up the Can I Use, because I do want to talk a bit more about the browser wars, right? It used to be that we had options like, back in the day, Internet Explorer versus Netscape Navigator, and Internet Explorer kind of crushed out Netscape Navigator and forced everyone to use Internet Explorer. But then we had different options that came along. Netscape Navigator kind of went away but became Firefox, and we had other options like Chrome pop up. And then Chrome kind of took over the market. And for a while, Microsoft held on to Internet Explorer and then finally said, hey, we give up. We're going to use what everybody uses, and that's Chrome. So actually, technically Chromium, which is the engine that Chrome runs on. But Microsoft said, hey, while we're going to use the Chromium engine, we do want to add our own features. And that's why I like it, because they looked at a browser that kind of stagnated with, from Google, the Chrome browser kind of stagnated. And they said, hey, let's reinvent a few things and make it a bit better. But Firefox is an option still. Safari is the default browser for Mac machines. And we also have things like Opera and others. So we also have other features like Brave, which is the browser that's supposed to be, protecting all of our information. So why do I choose to use Edge? Well, if we look here on the Can I Use page, and Can I Use is a really helpful site, because what it does is it shows us what new features of HTML, CSS, and even I think some JavaScript, which of those will work on which browsers. So whatever you choose, most search feature here is Flexbox is number 2. Well, you can see the breakdown: Chrome, Edge, Safari, Firefox, Opera, and Internet Explorer. Does that work? And it's yes for the current version. The current versions are this line right here. Sorry, that pop-up kind of really messes with things. But then we also have like this one, Edge. Well, it's partially supported. Notice the browser version is released in 2013. It's been a while. But globally, we still have 0.3% of people using Internet Explorer. If you mouse over to Chrome, 3.76, down here 0.02%, 25.92% use this version, and so on. There's a bunch using one of these versions. About 30% between these two. Over here in Edge, 2.75 and another 1.58. It's only about 4% are using one of these versions. But it's Chromium, which means in the background, it works an awful lot like Chrome. So it's similar, and yet it's not Chrome. And so that's why I use it, because I think there's some additional features. But then if you look over, let's go back over here. Notice the support all across the board. Firefox is 0.65%, with another 1% in the previous version. Safari is 0.63% and 1.1%, so you got about less than 2%. And then over here, Opera 0.2 and 0.59, again, about 0.8% total. So with that, let's go back to the main page here and look at browser score. Now, browser score is not everything. However, what a browser score tells you is how much do they implement the features of a given spec. Because HTML5 has a specification, says these are the things and how they work. CSS3 has the same thing. And so not every browser implements every feature in those specifications. Right now, Chrome 144 has a score of 439. So that's the full support is 439 points notice there's partial support over here as well. Partial support is another 23 points. So that's, the point score. And don't worry about the point score in abstract. Look at it in comparison to other browsers. And you can go to more features about the scores. But Safari is 414. It's significantly behind Chrome, and even the partials don't make up for that. And then Firefox is 419, a little better than Safari, but not much. And it's about 20 points behind Chrome. And again, the partials don't make up for that difference. So that's where there's a whole lot of things, and it's an edge case. It's not the main things, but there's a lot of edges where Firefox and Safari are behind compared to the Chromium lines. So that's the first step in my evaluation of which browser I like. I like the ones that are going to support the most features and also are the most used. Because if it's not being used, does it really matter that it supports the most features? Not really, because as a web developer, I have to support my customers. But the majority of my customers are also on Chromium browsers. So I choose a Chromium line. Now we'll get back to which Edge in a minute, but let's talk Brave for a minute, because Brave is the browser that protects your privacy, etc. But they're also the ones that push AI the hardest. And I just haven't found that I like Brave enough to overcome the initial impression. So I tend to avoid Brave. What does that leave me with? It leaves me with Chrome versus Edge. Here's the reason why I choose Edge. Now let's go, we got a Google search here for Edge. And if you choose this Get to Know Microsoft Edge, you'll go to the Edge page, which will explain more about Edge. And as I said, Brave pushes AI, right? But definitely Edge doesn't, right? Your AI browser. So yes, there is already some AI stuff going on here with this. And this is what I find frustrating. Okay, it's Copilot mode, performance, online safety. This is your AI browser. Scroll on next. Hey, here's more about Copilot. Really pushing that AI, aren't you? Don't worry, here's your Copilot mode. Kind of pushing that again, huh? How about Copilot Vision? Okay, really pushing that. How about shopping with Copilot and Edge? Guess what they're focused on? They're focused on Copilot, which means that there probably will come a time where I move off of Edge. Because if they forget to focus on the browser as a tool beyond just AI, then yes, I'm going to go to a different browser if there's a good one available. But down here, and it's kind of skip over, okay, there's AI theme generator and image generation, more AI. But down here, browser that puts you first. This is where I see Edge taking the lead over Brave or over Chrome, and that is Energy Saver, Startup Boost, and Sleeping Tabs. You get an average of 25 more minutes of battery life with efficiency mode. Okay, so by default, your tabs will only stay kind of awake for so long before they get put into sleep mode. What that means is they use a lot less resources. One of the things you've probably seen is that your system resources are heavily taken up with your browser. Your browser, regardless of which browser you use, will take up a lot of resources. This gives you more resources back compared to other Chromium browsers. I use the sleeping tabs especially quite a bit because I save things in my tabs because I want to come back to them and finish it up. And so I, at any one time, might have 50 tabs open in 3 different browser windows. So the fact that they sleep is a really good thing. It saves a lot of performance for me. But also with that, let's scroll down here, online, safer online with the Edge VPN, the password management, which I do not use. I use 1Password. And also the Defender Smart Screen, that can be helpful. Forget the AI browser. And yes, it does go into more locations, but the big one for me, I'm not even sure it has it listed. It does not, which is frustrating. It's in here somewhere, I think. But the fact that your tabs can be on the left-hand side, that's a big deal for me. I know it's a little thing, but I like having more vertical space because of the fact that vertically I have less space compared to horizontally. So let's take up more space horizontally with my menu options and other things by putting it on the left with my tabs versus putting it at the top, which brings everything down and shrinks my overall viewport. So that's why, for me personally, I prefer Edge. Okay, so let's scroll to the very bottom here, download for your device. By the way, if you go to the very top, it just downloads the thing you need. But I want to show you download for your device, this bottom button here. And it takes you to the page where it says, hey, you can use Edge everywhere. And that's true. You can put it on Windows, Mac, iOS, Android. What are you missing? Oh, down here, it's also available now on Linux. And it's the Debian version, which means it will work on Mint. So this can be installed everywhere practically, which also means if you log into Edge, and that's up to you if you want to, for security reasons. But if you do log in, you can share your tabs, you can share your history, you can share your all the other your shortcuts. That's what it is, and anything else you want in your browser. So that's super helpful. Okay, so it already started downloading before, but I'm just going to go to my folder, open that up, and I'm going to double click on this Debian file. It's going to open the package and install Edge on this machine. It says, hey, do you want to install Edge? Here's how big it's going to be. Yes. It's going to ask my password, which is, again, a good thing because I have to consciously say, yes, I want to install this thing, making sure that I know what's being installed on my machine. All right, once that's done, it's done. We can close that out. We can even delete this file, which I will do. All right, and we can close out of Firefox, and we go to our Start menu, and I will type Edge and get Microsoft Edge. We can right-click on it and say that I want to add to the desktop, add to favorites. I'll add to my favorites for now. Notice it's down here. And I'm going to open this up. Choose a new password for keyring. This is if I want to save my passwords in Edge. I don't do it that way, but I must have mistyped something. There we go. But now create a keyring for me so that it secures my passwords and ensures that I don't expose those to other users. Okay. Don't help Microsoft improve their products. That's my personal opinion. It's up to you. But optional diagnostic data about how you use your browser and crash reports, I would prefer not to send that myself, but it's up to you if you want to. Okay. Here's where we start to configure how we set things up. Do you want it to be inspirational, informational, or focused? I want focus. I want the least amount of things on this start page possible. Do you want to sync data? No, I don't. So I'm going to close it out now. Okay. So forget the ad about AI browser, etc. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. We're going to configure MSN's down here now too. A lot of this stuff is junk, and we're going to get rid of the junk. So we're going to make sure the preview of Copilot is turned off. Turn off the sponsor links. Quick links, no, turn those off as well. We're going to, we could not show any content, which we don't want to do. And we don't want to show weather. Microsoft is obsessed with showing weather. And this is my personal opinion. Now, I may be wrong. My personal opinion is the reason why they want to show weather everywhere is because then it logs you in as far as your location. It has to ping the server and say, Tim is at this location in Texas. And that gives them additional information. Every company is tracking your data. So therefore, that's one more piece of data they can track. That's my personal opinion. I don't know if that's true for sure or not, but that's why one of the reasons why I don't need that. I don't need to be told what the weather is in every app. So I turn that off. Okay, so now we have Edge installed. We can right click on the icon and we can say pin to panel. And now if we close this out, it's still there as our browser. Cool. And We could sign in, which again will allow us to sync our settings to other devices. I'm not going to do that. There is this drop down here for searching our tabs, which we're not going to do. We don't need to do that. But what we're going to do is let's go to settings, because I want to change how this works a lot. Okay, so let's go through this and just go step by step. Microsoft rewards, turn off rewards. I'm going to turn off rewards. Let's go ahead and restart. Rewards, what it does, it tracks what you do and then gives you points for things. I have used it in the past. I have got free stuff from Amazon, from Microsoft, from other places because of my points. But in order to do that, you have to kind of let the system track you. And I'm not really in for doing that on this profile. Okay, profile preferences, auto sign into Edge. So it's going to auto sign to other sites from Microsoft, like Outlook, and allow worker school profiles. We'll leave it alone because I'm not really signed in yet. I could sign in. Password manager, if you have a different password, I'm going to say no and not allow it to ask to save passwords. But if you have a password manager, you can install one as well. So autofill and passkeys, only if I had a password saved. Okay, so let's come down here to privacy search and services. So let's tracking prevention. Yes, balanced is fine for my use. You can say always strict tracking for when in private. If you don't know, browsers have in private mode. The purpose for this, there's different purposes. The in private mode, what it does, it doesn't save things like cookies, etc. But there's still the ability for your internet service provider, for your network, and for the sites to track you. And so the strict tracking prevention in private mode just kind of ups what it does as far as preventing you from being tracked for things like ads and personalization. But yes, parts of sites might not work. Just know that that's there. Okay, cookies. If you want to change cookie policies, if you want to change what's allowed or not allowed, you can go in there. But let's come down here to appearance, and I am going to say dark mode. I much prefer dark mode. It's just so much easier on my eyes. After a long day at work, I want my eyes to not hurt. So that's what I'm going to do. And I believe appearance, I'm going to default to 100% zoom level. If you have bad eyes, you can change that. Copilot and sidebar. Okay, by default, it's off. Personalize my top sites and customize sidebar. No. Allow sidebar apps to show notifications. No. I'm turning that off. Again, by default, that's off. Okay, so you just kind of go through all these settings and make sure that you turn off any kind of tracking that you don't like. Okay, tabs, appearance tabs. I want to show vertical tabs. That's my preference. There we go. Hide title bar while in vertical tabs. I'll leave that off. Show tab search. That's that little where to go. There we go. That little drop down there that allows you to search your tabs if you want. If you're a heavy tab user like I am, that can be useful. Tab preview on Hover, yes. Show tab groups and favorite bars, sure. Drag it to group tabs, sure. That might be something that you don't want. Is every once in a while I'll drag a tab up or down, but if you hover over a second tab, it will group those two together. That's a nice feature, but it's not always expected behavior. So if you don't want that to happen, just uncheck the box and double click to close browser tabs. If you want to do that, sure. I don't like that. Okay, back out of here. I think that's all for the configuration I want to do. Default browser, I'm gonna make that the default. There we go. So Edge is now my default browser. New tab is what it's going to open to. Preload your new tab page for faster experience. I don't think there's a need to do that because of the fact I have nothing on it. So I'm going to leave that off. Preloading sounds great until you realize what's happening is in the background. It's doing the work when you're not needing it yet. And yes, you may need it soon, but you may not as well. And it still does the same amount of work as just when it does the work. But it could do more work than you're expecting. Okay, downloads. Don't have to save. It's just going to save in the downloads folder. That's fine. Open Office files in the browser. Sure. Instead of downloading your device. That's if you go to an Office file link, usually in OneDrive online. It's going to open the Office browser version of that instead of downloading it. So it doesn't really apply on Linux, but it's fine. And then show downloads menu when the download starts. That's just that little dialog up here that shows you it downloading. That's cool. I'm good with that. Accessibility. If you need an accessibility options in here or usability, that's where it's at. There's another couple options I want to go through here to make sure that we are use graphic acceleration is fine. And performance, fade inactive tabs, that just shows you that they're saving memory and CPU. You could keep certain sites active. Certain sites in the background are going to update, and maybe you want that, and that's where we add those sites to the list. Automatically put tabs to sleep. Yes. After 1 hour, you can change that to whatever you want. For me, probably 30 minutes is fine, because if I haven't looked at a site in 30 minutes, it's okay to put it to sleep. Really, it doesn't matter after about 15 minutes, but 30 is more than generous. Okay. Now we can come down here to AI innovations. Exploring Copilot mode will allow us to try it. No, we're not going to do that. But just know that's sneaking in here. The chat is here, and I haven't found a way yet to get rid of it. But with everything else turned off, now let's start this up again. And it's pretty tame here. What we have, I don't know why it's showing me the background image. Right there, background, boom, off. So let's try this again to make sure that it's going to actually go away and stay away. It does. Cool. So now it's not showing me anything I don't need. And then one more thing I need to do is the favorites. I'm going to toggle that again. There's a way is it control? I don't know what it is on here. I want this bar to go away. Let's see if we can't get that to go away. So that's probably in settings, but I'm not positive. Favorites bar, only on new tab. Okay, so if we went to, let's go to Google. Okay, so there's no favorites bar there, but there is in our new tab. Okay, I'm fine with that. So we reclaim our space when we're actually on a site. I like that. So I'm fine with where that's at. But that shows you how to configure Edge and how to make sure that you turn off as much as possible that's running in the background. I'm going to unpin this. I like to have, again, even my horizontal space back, and I have to make that a fly out instead. So that's how to install Edge on Linux. That's how to make sure it's your default and get it ready for working with your web applications that you build while making it as performant as possible. Thanks for watching, and as always, I am Tim Corey.